Hello, honey, and welcome to Zoe's Bedtime Stories. Tonight, we're venturing into a very familiar forest, but with a rather unfamiliar tale. Let your eyelids grow heavy, your body relax, and just listen as we rediscover a classic with a bit of a twist. Tonight, we're visiting Little Red Riding Hoodie. Once upon a time, not so long ago, in a quaint little cottage nestled right on the edge of the Whispering Woods, lived a young woman. Now, she wasn't particularly little anymore, if you catch my drift, and she certainly wasn't a child, but she did have a rather fabulous, oversized, cherry red hoodie that she absolutely adored. So, everyone simply called her Hoodie. Hoodie was a modern gal with a fierce independence and a healthy appetite for life's little pleasures. Her favorite comfort food was her grandmother's famously decadent, homemade double chocolate brownies. These weren't your average brownies, no sir. These were the kind that made you close your eyes, hum a little tune, and forget all your troubles for a good long while. They were, in a word, potent. One sunny morning, her mother, a rather spirited woman herself, called out to Hoodie from the kitchen. Her mother said, "Hoodie, my darling, Granny isn't feeling quite herself today. I think she's been overindulging in her herbal tea again. Could you please take her a fresh batch of my special brownies and a bottle of that rather robust red wine she enjoys? It's just past the old oak tree. You know the way." Hoodie smiled. She loved her granny, and she loved an excuse for a walk through the woods. Plus, those brownies were so good, she always hoped a few crumbs would accidentally fall into her own mouth on the way. She packed the treats into her trusty wicker basket, a rather roomy basket, perfect for clandestine snack attacks, and pulled on her favorite red hoodie. It was so soft against her skin, so comforting, and let's be honest, it perfectly matched her lips after a certain shade of lipstick. Now, the Whispering Woods weren't known for whispering danger, but more for whispering secrets. It was a place where the air was thick with the scent of pine and possibility, a place where you might stumble upon an unexpected encounter, or perhaps a very interesting proposition. As Hoodie sauntered down the winding path, humming a little tune to herself, she noticed a distinct shift in the atmosphere. The sunlight seemed to dapple differently through the leaves, and the air grew warmer. And then, there he was, leaning casually against a sturdy oak, looking every bit as wild and untamed as the forest itself, was a rather striking gentleman. He wasn't your average woodsman. Oh no, this man had eyes that sparkled like moonlight on a dark lake, a smile that could melt butter, and a certain lupine charm that was impossible to ignore. He was tall, with a strong build that hinted at many hours spent outdoors, and a rather appealing 5 o'clock shadow that suited him perfectly. The man said, "Well, hello there, and what brings Hoodie into my humble domain?" Hoodie, never one to be easily flustered, paused, her slight smile playing on her lips. She met his gaze, her own eyes sparkling. Hoodie said, "Just taking some goodies to my granny, mister." Man said, "Wolf, just wolf, though some call me the big bad wolf. But don't let the name scare you, little one. I'm usually only bad when I'm hungry or perhaps bored." He winked, a slow, deliberate blink that held a world of unspoken invitations. Hoodie let out a soft laugh and said, "Well, Mr. Wolf, I'm certainly not on your menu, and I rarely cure boredom unless it's my own." Wolf said, "Oh, I think we might have more in common than you realize. A woman with a basket full of treats and a man with a healthy appetite. Perhaps we could share a taste." Hoodie considered him, a thoughtful look on her face. He was certainly tempting, but Granny was waiting, and those brownies wouldn't deliver themselves. She said, "Perhaps another time, Mr. Wolf. Granny's expecting me. Besides," she leaned in conspiratorially, "these brownies are so good, I'm not sure I'd want to share them with anyone, unless they were truly deserving." Wolf said, "And what would make one deserving, little Hoodie?" She said, "Oh, I suppose a little patience, a little persuasion, and perhaps a demonstration of one's cunning." She paused, then added, "You know, Mr. Wolf, there's a path through the blackberries that's much quicker than this main trail. Granny lives just past the old mill. If you're so inclined, you could probably get there before me. Perhaps even prepare for my arrival." Wolf's eyes gleamed. He understood her perfectly. A challenge, a game, and the promise of a very interesting reward. Wolf said, "Consider it done, Hoodie. Don't dawdle now. I wouldn't want you to miss the warm welcome." And with a flash of his captivating smile, he turned and disappeared into the dense undergrowth, heading for the shortcut. Hoodie watched him go, a shiver of anticipation running down her spine. He was quite the charmer. She picked a few wild berries, nibbled on a stray brownie crumb, purely for quality control, of course, and took her time, enjoying the last of the sunlight filtering through the canopy. She knew the wolf would be there waiting, and she found she rather liked the idea of being waited for. Meanwhile, Wolf, with his long strides and cunning mind, arrived at Granny's cottage in no time. He peered through the window. Granny, bless her heart, was indeed a bit indisposed. She was slumped in her armchair, a half-empty bottle of her robust red wine beside her, snoring quite contentedly. Wolf chuckled. This made things even more interesting. He knocked gently on the door. No answer. He knocked again, a little louder. Still nothing. With a mischievous grin, he simply let himself in. Granny was out cold. Perfect. Wolf had an idea, an exciting idea. He moved swiftly, tidying up a little, plumping a few pillows on the bed, even lighting a few candles. He was nothing if not a man of subtle ambience. Then, with a twinkle in his eye, he slipped into Granny's rather voluminous nightgown and cap. It was a little tight in places, rather revealing in others, but he figured it added to the surprise. He even dabbed a bit of Granny's lavender perfume behind his ears. He was committed to the role. He pulled the covers up to his chin, arranged himself just so, and waited. His heart thumped with anticipation. He could hear Hoodie's approaching footsteps, light and rhythmic, a little drum beat announcing her arrival. Finally, a soft knock on the door echoed through the quiet cottage. She said, "Granny, it's Hoodie. I've brought you some goodies." Wolf, imitating an old lady, said, "Come in, my dear. Don't be shy. Just push the latch." Hoodie entered, her basket swinging lightly. The cottage was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of lavender and something else, something rather animalistic. She peered at the figure in the bed. She said, "Granny, is that you? My, what big eyes you have, and they're sparkling so much." Wolf said, "All the better to see you with, my dear. Come closer." Hoodie took another step and said, "And Granny, what big hands you have. They look rather strong." Wolf said, "All the better to embrace you with, my love." Hoodie was now right by the bed. She could see the glint in his eye, the playful curve of his lips under the cap, and the distinct lack of wrinkles. She said, "And Granny, what a deep voice you have. It's rather captivating." Wolf said, "All the better to whisper sweet nothings to your ear with, my dear." And then Hoodie leaned in very close, her eyes twinkling. She could almost feel the heat radiating from him. She said, "And Granny, what big teeth you have, but they look like they'd be very good at nibbling." Wolf's disguise melted away as he burst into a rich, deep laugh, pulling off the cap and revealing his handsome face. Wolf said, "You caught me, Hoodie, or perhaps you let yourself be caught. Come here, you clever girl. I think we have some brownies to share." Hoodie laughed, a melodic sound that filled the little cottage. She set her basket down. Granny continued to snore peacefully in the armchair, completely oblivious to the delightful charade unfolding in her bedroom. Wolf reached out, and Hoodie, with a graceful movement, slipped onto the bed beside him. The red hoodie, so soft and inviting, rustled gently as she settled in. The brownies, it turned out, were just the beginning of their shared feast. The wine was uncorked, the conversation flowed, and the air grew thick with laughter, whispered secrets, and a burgeoning sense of adventure. They spoke of travels, of dreams, of the subtle art of seduction, and the joy of unexpected encounters. The wolf, it turned out, was not just charming. He was witty, intelligent, and surprisingly gentle when he chose to be. And Hoodie, with her independent spirit and quick wit, was more than a match for him. The night was long, but in the best possible way, filled with comfortable silence, broken only by quiet murmurs and soft sighs. The full moon cast a silvery glow through the window, illuminating the room with a gentle, dreamlike light. Granny, surprisingly, slept through it all. Perhaps robust red wine were more potent than anyone realized. Or perhaps she simply knew that some stories are best left undisturbed, allowing them to unfold naturally, beautifully, and perhaps a little naughtily. As the first hint of dawn painted the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, Hoodie stretched contentedly. Wolf was still there, his presence a warm, comforting weight beside her. She felt deliciously relaxed, thoroughly amused, and perhaps just a little bit satisfied. The moral of this story, my dear, isn't about being wary of wolves. Oh no, it's about knowing a good wolf when you see one. It's about taking a chance on an unexpected detour, and it's about realizing that sometimes the best treats aren't always in the basket. Good night, honey bunny. Dream about me, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll meet again in the next one. Bye.